Well, last time we had just introduction, what is Sanskrit language and all that. Okay. Going forward, before getting into the overview of the grammatical structure, so that's where I would like to start first, and then the words, the simple words, and the simple will start forming simple sentences. Now, understanding the shlokas will take some time because first we need to understand the grammatical structure, what the word means and all that. Simple thing. We're not going to, because the Sanskrit grammar branch of study is very vast, it's very huge, very big, it's never ending. So, but we'll not get into the nitty-gritty of all the grammar, but just a simple like high level, what are the number, how many numbers and genders, those kind of, so that we have some basic understanding to identify the words. And then build the vocabulary, and then simple sentences, and a couple of stories related to those, the words we are going to learn. So this is the overall outline of this course. Then after that, to understand the shlokas, probably we need to move one step forward, to the next level, like understanding the sandhis and etc. But however, during this course also, in between we'll take a look at some of the common shlokas, and if you have some shlokas you specifically want to understand, then you can just let me know. Okay? Bring them to the class or just email me. Or we also have a Telegram group. If you want to join, you can, most welcome to join. It's optional if you want to. Yeah. Then here we have, today we'll start with the basic, the aksharam, or the letters in Sanskritam. So as every language is made of, not every language, most of the languages, they start with this phonetic letters. So they recognize some letters or sounds as the basis of their words, right? Forming the words. So what are these aksharam, or the letters? Basically, so how do you at the basic level, how do you define what is a letter or an aksharam? It is basically a sound, right? It's a sound. It's a frequency. It's a frequency which we can produce using our throat, the muscles in our throat, the human throat, and obviously all the animals, they produce some sound. And not only animals, in the nature also there are many sounds which we can, as humans, we can perceive through our ears. And practically, there are how many sounds can be there? There are infinite sounds, right? Because of infinite frequencies. Infinite, any number of sounds could be there. But for a language, or let's talk about the Sanskritam language, it has identified certain frequencies or certain sounds only to form the words. The words are the basic units in this language. So from the words, the sentences are formed, and the sentences are needed to understand or to express the thoughts. So Actually, the sentence is the basic or the lowest required unit, right, to express the thought, express our thoughts to other person. So whatever we want to express, a sentence is the minimum unit that is needed. And how is the sentence formed? It is formed using words. Words themselves are formed using these letters, or in Sanskrit we call them aksharam. So, certain aksharams, the aksharams, they are the sounds. So there are certain sounds which are recognized, which are eligible for or able to form the words. Now, how many letters are there? So let's start with this. This is the chart of letters here. So the chart of letters is divided essentially into two sections at the high level. One is the vowels, or which is also called swaraha, which is written here, right? Swaraha or swaraha in the using this Roman script or English script is also written here, swaraha, and this follows a certain writing this Devanagari Lipi, or what we are saying in what we are talking in Sanskritam in Roman script can be written in different formats. So to represent the A sound, it is written as in the uppercase A here. If you want to represent the low sound, not A sound, so it is represented here, right? Like this. So there are various ways to write the Sanskrit letters using the English or the Roman script. So I am using, or this slide uses a certain variation of that writing. I think it is called, I don't remember, ISO or something. Yeah. You can look up. But yeah, just for understanding, we have to follow a certain one specific format. We can follow any format. Anyway, so at the high level, there are two sections, two categories of aksharas or letters. One is swara or vowels, other is vyanjanam. Swaraha, one vowel is called swaraha, many vowels are called swaraha. One consonant is called vyanjanam, as written here. Does everybody know your Devanagari?
Yes.
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 Anybody do not know Devanagari?
Yes.
Solius, what about you?
I know the basics.
Devanagari, you know that? You understand this? Okay, good. So I don't have to worry about it. So. All right. So now the question is how to. The very important thing is the pronunciation. Because as we say, Sanskrit is very logical, very scientific language. All that. Why is it logical? Why it's scientific? Again, it all starts with this also. This aksharam, the letters themselves. So in the nature, there are infinite number of frequencies or sounds. So a certain number of sounds, they are selected and they are put in a certain order, a logical order, and also how to pronounce them is also very accurately and logically defined by the Sanskrit certain books. And actually there is a branch of study on this, studying the pronunciation itself. In the olden days, when pupils or the students, they went to the old form of the schools, like called gurukulas. So they basically they all went to studies, mainly the Vedas, right? Vedas to study Vedas, and there are branches of Vedas and all, Puranas, Itihasa, etc. So when they enroll there, first thing they have to start with the pronunciation. That branch is called Shiksha. The um, the pronunciation, learning of the pronunciation, that branch is called Shiksha, and learning of the grammar study, that branch is called Vyakaranam. So start with the Shiksha, because clarity in pronunciation or mastery in pronunciation is important first. That is the very first step. So we'll start with that. Again, I have conducted before a complete course. A course means it was about 12, 13 sessions on this pronunciation itself. But we are not going to go through that whole thing in this course. There is already a recording available on the YouTube channel. If you are interested, you can take a look at that. Otherwise, we'll just look at the very basic of how these are to be pronounced, just to make sure that we are on the same page. We understand how to pronounce these words. We don't want to go on making incorrect pronunciation during our this course. So, if anybody is familiar with this chart of letters, try to pronounce it, please. Anybody volunteering?
I can volunteer, Mahodaya.
Yeah, please.
A, I, U, I, O, Aha. Would you like me to continue?
Yes, continue. Yes.
Ka, ka, ga, ka, ga, nya, cha, cha, ja, ja, nya, ta, ta, da, da, na, ta, ta, da, da, na, pa, pa, ba, ta, ma, ya, ra, la, wa, sha, sha, sa, ha. Ha.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tamam, very good, very excellent. So, somebody, can somebody repeat? Vijanti Bhagini, you want to repeat this one?
Which one, sir? The vowels?
Yeah, vowels. Okay, let's start with the vowels. Yeah.
Okay. A, I, U, R, A, I, O, Aha. So on the Vyanjanas, Ka, Ga, Na, Cha, Dha, Nya, Tha, Dha, Na, Tha, Da, Na, Pa, Ba, Ma, Ya, Ra, La, Va, Sha, Sa, Ha.
Dhanyawada. So, Pune, you want to try it? Am I saying your name right?
Yes, sir. My name is Pune.
Okay.
A, I, U, R, A, I, O, Aha. K, ga, gha, nga, cha, cha, ja, cha, nya, ta, tha, da, dha, na, tha, tha, da, dha, na, pa, pha, ba, bha, ma, ya, ra, la, va, sha, sha, sa, ha.
Okay, great. So I think at least I think all of you have got this. You have very good pronunciation hold on this. So a couple of things to note here. One is, yeah, on the vowel side of the swara, there are two types, right? Is a short vowel, and is a long vowel. Why is it called short and long? What is the difference? Difference is it's a time. How much time it takes to pronounce, or how much time we should take to pronounce these letters. Is a short because it takes lesser time than should take the double the time of what we use for So is double the time. So now exactly how much double, what is the exact time for that is again relative, is not that important, but generally maybe a second. You can say let's say a second, little less than a second for and then But while we are pronouncing that independently, not in a word, I mean, just by themselves, we can just make it, to emphasize them, we can take some time. I, u, u, e, I, o, au. So these are the vowels. So how many vowels are there? Yeah, we need how many? Prajwal. Yeah, Vijanti. Okay.
13, sir.
Yeah, 13 vowels. Now, is a short vowel, is a long vowel. So similarly, this one is short. So for the short, in the Sanskrit it is called Haswa. Raswa literally means short. So if some person is short, we can also call the person Raswa. Okay? Not only the letter. Raswa is short. So Raswa Swara. Raswa Swara is short vowel. And Dirgha is long. Dirgha again literally means long. Dirgha, like we can call something Dirgha Nadi, so if the river is long. So Dirgha Swara here. Raswa Swara, Dirgha Swara. So this is Raswa and this is Dirgha. Raswa Dirgha, Raswa Dirgha, Raswa Dirgha. Okay. Now what about this? This is Raswa. What about this A? Again, think of how much time we need to pronounce it compared to this Raswa, short one. So it needs double the time. So this one is Dirgha, and this is I is also Dirgha, O is Dirgha, Au is Dirgha. There is no short there is no short form of this A. What it's saying is, in Sanskritam, we should not, when we are saying A or I, O, Au, we should spend that double the time or twice the time of saying or E. Though technically it is possible to say I with a shorter duration, like it is possible, but Sanskritam does not recognize that or doesn't want it. in some Vedas, etc., there are some still those kind of usages are there, short usages for these also, but in day-to-day conversation or practical usage, only the longer form is recognized. There is no short form for A, I, O, O. Also in some regional Indian languages, the shorter forms are still used for this A, I, O, O, but not in Sanskritam. And what about this Ru? This one is a special vowel. This has only the short form here. There is no long form. Why? Because there are no words. Technically, it is possible. We can also say nobody is preventing it. Nobody is stopping us. But there are no words using that longer format. So practically there is no use of keeping that sound in this chart. Any question?
Shrimatam, was there any time in the history of Sanskritam that L was used? Why was it there? We are not using it.
No, this one is used. What we are seeing currently, it is still used.
Oh.
Yeah, only the long form is not used, because how we have this there are two, there are short and long, both are there, right, for these two.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but for this one only there is a short form, there is no long.
I remember learning in Telugu that we have the long form, but I never understood why.
Yeah, so in Sanskritam there is no long here, only short. So there is a word using this ru also. We'll look at that later.
Okay.
So I have one doubt. May I ask, Mahodaya?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. When you write it in the Roman, I thought for the long ones you use the capitals, but you haven't used for the last, for I and why is it?
Yeah, I think I used one certain, I copied, there is one website which provides these different Roman, using Roman script, there are different schemes are there. So I think I just used it and copied it from there. Sure.
Okay, so it doesn't mean that the longer ones use capitals. It may not. In some.
No, it's not. Yeah, we can come up with our own scheme after your scheme.
Oh, thank you.
As long as it is consistent. It's fine.
Okay, as long as we are consistent. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now, a second. Okay, right. Now, what about these last two? So, you pronounce them as aha, or some pronounce it aha. What are these? Are these swaras or are these vyanjanas?
These are called anuswaras, right? Is also anuswaras, right, sir? Or
this is not a swara. These two are not a swara. They are not vyanjanas also. They are just independent sounds. They are not swaras and they are not vyanjana. How do we know? Well, because we have to know what is a swara and what is a vyanjana for that, and to understand that these are not swaras. They are their own sounds. So what is a swara first? A swara can be pronounced, is a sound which can be pronounced independently. Independently means what? compare that with the Vyanjanam. Vyanjanam, for example, K. To pronounce K or any other Vyanjanam like Cha, Ta, what is happening in the mouth, in our oral area, cavity there? If you notice that, for all the Vyanjanam, some part, mostly the tongue inside, it touching some part in the mouth, inside the mouth. For example, when you say ta, this ta, I'm talking this ta. So it is our tip of the tongue is pointing upwards and touching like a roof of the mouth inside. And similarly ta. So here ta. So when you say ta, the tip of the tongue is hitting the back of the tooth, upper tooth. Right? So, and these one pa, when you say pa, there is no tongue involved, but two lips are touching each other there, pa. So if you look at these, so there is some touch is involved there. Something is either tongue or lip or some part is touching inside the mouth there. But here these swaras, they do not touch, nothing inside, no tongue touch, no lip touch there. So the swaras are the sounds which are pronounced independently, without the help of or without the assistance of a different instrument. This is just a wind coming out of our mouth, though there is some modulation. The wind or the air coming out of the mouth, it goes through some modulation because they have to sound different. They are all not the same sound. They have to sound different, but without touch, the tongue also moves. For example, when we say, what you can notice the difference between and saying ah. Let's start with this first. What is the difference between saying and ah? How do we articulate it? How do we say? If somebody asks, what is the difference between and ah? Explain it. We can say it and say, okay, this is the difference. But how do we explain it in sentence? Difference means what is happening to the mouth, what is the shape of the mouth, and how the wind is coming out, air is coming out. So how do we say that? Ah. Anybody want to try that?
Can I try, sir?
Yeah.
Mahoday?
Yeah.
Do you open your mouth wider when you say ah?
Yeah, right. Correct. So the air is coming from where?
Throat?
Throat, yeah. Okay. Thank you. And Prajwal, yeah. Next one, what happens with the E? What is the difference between and E?
I think the mouth becomes wider, like smiling.
Yeah, smiling. E, right?
E, and then yeah, Dirgha is just a longer version.
Longer, right. So for ah, you notice that the mouth becomes like expanded, like vertically, but E is like a horizontal expansion. Right? E, like a smiling. That's right. So now, what else happens other than the lips? Is there anything happening to the tongue if you notice and E?
I don't notice much. Maybe it also expands. The tongue also expands horizontally a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
To the side.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, Alice, you want to say something? No? Okay. Yeah, so there is some difference that happening. So I'm not going to go through, because there are already recordings you can go, but especially if you look at this, or maybe this is simpler. So we are talking about certain positions here. So, sthanam So actually, you see here, this is instrument means what we are using this. Either it is either that part of the tongue or lip to modulate or to touch a certain portion in the mouth. So Jihva Moolam means what? It is the root of the tongue, or the very back root of the tongue. Jihva Talam means the surface of the tongue. Jihvagram, this is number 4. Jihvagram means the tip of the tongue. Number 3, Jihvagram Pariveshtitam means tip of the tongue rolled. Okay? Pariveshtitam means rolled. Then Oshtha means lips. So these are the 5 things we are going to use. We use to modulate the air or touch a certain part of the mouth inside to produce a certain sound. Now, when we do not touch any part of the sound at all, or any part of the mouth with any of the instruments, but we just use them to modulate the air, then the swaras are produced, the vowels. But when we using the same these things, when we touch certain part of the thing mouth inside and modulate the air, then the vyanjanas are produced, the consonants. There is certain degree of touch. The degree of touch also varies in the when producing the consonants. But when producing the swaras, what happens? The touch is not there, but only the modulation happens by using these different instruments. We call them instruments because, for example, when we say, let's say is a very natural language. It's the most natural sound. Most natural sound is while pronouncing what is happening, we are just opening the mouth a little bit and just passing the air, throwing the air out very in the relaxed way through the throat, through the mouth and through the lips and out. That is a very, very natural, the basic sound. It starts with that. It passes through the sound and we are not touching. There's nothing, the tongue or any part of the tongue or the lip is not touching anywhere when producing the sound So this air comes straight out, relaxed. But when you say this opens a little wide, and again there is no touch anywhere. This double the time duration what is used for and the air again naturally passes out. So there is not much difference in that respect. But when we say E, now the modulation starts happening. Again, the lips are wide like a smile. Now the tongue is also involved here. Now what happens? E. If you notice that E, when I say E, the tongue is, the surface of the tongue, it is moving towards, this surface of the tongue is this part. Okay? The surface of the tongue is moving towards this part. Okay? So now there are, this position is called talu here. Talu, or in English you can call it palate. Talu. So there are different positions which are identified in the mouth, and this is we can call it deep inside, or kantha, or it's also jaw, right? Root of the jaw. Now then there is a talu and there is a murdha. Okay? This murdha, or the roof of the hard portion when you just behind your teeth, or just upper part, if you go behind your teeth, here, back here, this is the hard part, there's a roof here. Palate is the soft part there. And then the danta, the back of the front teeth there. And then the osta, lips. So these are the 5 positions which are identified for modulation as well as touching. So swaras, they involve modulation, no touch, at these different positions, and the consonants, they also need these different positions, but at these different positions, different instruments, they have to touch at certain degrees. So starting from let's look at ah. So there is no touch anywhere to kantha. So from the kantha means from this portion, the air is coming out totally. Okay? So so you see there is a certain vibration at this position, otherwise there is no touch here. Okay. Then next is E. E, the tongue is trying to, or is moving towards this portion, upwards a little bit, but there is no touch again. There is no touch. There is a little bit compression of the air here. The air path is a little bit compressed to produce that E sound. So that is E and E both. Then U. In U, what happens? We are using the lips here, making the lips circular shape and bringing the air out. So the lips are modulating the air here for producing the sound, vowel sound U and U both. That is for U. Then the next sound, next vowel is a little bit complicated here. Let's see. We'll skip this. We'll come back to the slide. Let's look at the A sound here. A sound, what is happening? A, it is actually a compound sound, or it's a combination of these basic sounds. In Sanskritam, the basic sounds are actually only three: A, E, and U. Only three basic sounds, right? Because I is what is A? A is just double the duration of A, and E is double the duration of E. U, twice the duration of U. So basically there are only three vowels, very basic. Now A is a combination of which two vowels? This A and E. These two are combined to produce A. How do you know that? We know that because if you do this A in like a slow motion, if you pronounce the A in a slow motion, or A and E in a fast forward, very quickly. Start with pronouncing A and quickly convert that to E, very quickly. So then A sound will come. Hey. If I go slow, then you will notice that I am pronouncing E. But what is the position of that you have to know first. Notice that. And what is the position of E? E is smiley, right? So start from and change that to E very quickly. Then you will notice that that is A. Similarly, how is I produced? I is produced starting with A actually. A and E. I. But it has to be quick. If you make it slow, that becomes I. It is not I. Now, then what is O? O is a combination of A and U. Start with the A and change it quickly to U position. Your whatever mouth position you are using for U, starting from A, change it to U. Ow. So this is a combination of A and U. Ow is again combination of A and U. Ow. So these are compound vowels, swaras. Or in Sanskritam we call compound, we call Sanyukta swara. Sanyukta means mixed. Yeah. They are mixed. Actually, mixed. Literally means mixed. Mixed vowels. They are not pure. They are actually combination of these basic vowels. Okay. Any questions so far? No. Now, these are interesting vowels. When I say R, so we understood the sthanam, right? If you look at this diagram, this image here, for A, each of the swara and the vyanjanam has its position and instrument. What is the position and instrument means? Instrument, we know this is the part of the tongue we use to produce the sound, and this is the part of the mouth towards which the instrument moves. Either it touches or towards which it moves. It doesn't, in case of swaras, it doesn't touch. In case of vyanjanam, this instrument touches one of these positions. Okay. One of the instruments touches one of the positions. So for A, the position is kantha, because there is no other position involved. The kantha, the vibration is happening here, okay. And there is no instrument actually, because it's a very natural and A. Though we can argue and say that okay, the root of the jaw is the instrument. Yeah, that you can say that, but it's very natural sound and A. So the position is kantha. This is where the modulation is happening. So because there is slight, it has to pass through this. There is slight compression when we are saying then E. This one here, the surface is moving towards this talu. The sthana for E is talu. Instrument is jihvagram. Yeah, this one, number 4, jihvagram. Not jihvagram, sorry, jihvatalam. Jihvatalam, because there is a surface. E. Then U. What is the instrument? Ostha, because when its lip is involved there. There is no tongue there. Again, there is naturally the air passes through it, but it's modulated by the lips here, being in the circular fashion. So Ostha is the instrument, and again the sthanam is Ostha, lips, or we can also say the sthanam is actually the lip, upper lip. The instrument is this lower lip actually moves, right? Moving is done by the lower jaw. The lower jaw is moving it. So we can say, though it is saying Ostha lip, but actually which lip is moving? Upper lip or lower lip? Lower jaw moves. So the lower lip is the instrument and the position is the upper lip here. So those are the positions for A, E, U. And what about A, I? What are the positions? We know that this is a combination. A is a combination of which two swaras?
and E.
And E. So what is the position for kantha?
This new, okay, kantha. And the
Kantha.
E is talu.
E is talu. So for A, what is the position of A? It is a combination. We have to say the combination of kantha and talu. So the position for A is kantha talu. Kantha talu means combination of throat and palate. Kantha talu. Similarly, I, same thing. I is also, it's a combination of A and E. So it's the position or sthanam for I is also kantha talu. And then O is also sanyukta swara, or it's a combined combination of what? O and And what is the position of a kantha? Position of O is
Oshta.
Oshtha. So position of O will be combination of these two. So we can say it is Kantha and Oshtha. Kantha, Oshtha. You can say that position. Similarly, O is also same. O is A and E. Sorry, A and O. So that is also the combination of Kantha, Oshtha. Now the interesting is, the next interesting is what about Ru, Ru, Lu? Now, Ru, Ru. So how do we pronounce this? Ru, Ru. So, and Ru also. Since we're short of time, I have a special video posting for these pronunciations, so you can watch that better, I think. So, but Ru, Ru position is for Ru, Ru. The position is these two. The position is, because if you know the position, then you will be able to pronounce it correctly. Okay? Position and the instrument. An instrument, Ru, Ru, Ru. The position is Murdha in this crown. And instrument is this Juphagram Pariveshtitam, rolled tip of the tongue. Okay? Rolled tip of the tongue. Now, how do the easy method to know how to pronounce what are these position is looking at the Vyanjanam. If you look at the Vyanjanam, it is easy to understand the position because these are actually touching. The instruments are touching those positions. So when we say ka, kha, ga, gha, nga, so where is what is touching where? So look here, and you say ka, kha, ka, ka. So if you experience the ka here, it is somewhere the touch is here, somewhere the back here, ka, deep here inside. Ka, kha, ka, ga also there only. Gha, nga. So they are touching there. And so all those 5 letters in this first line here, first line of consonants, they are the sthanam. Sthanam is the position for them is this kantha. Position for them is kantha. So similarly, the next line if you take here, this one, cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. So what is touching where? If you look at that, now cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. So this one is touching this part. What is touching this part? Cha, cha. So if you cha, like in English, what is cha? Like a chime. Cha. Or Hindi chai. Cha, chime. So cha, that cha is touching this part, the surface, the top surface is touching this part, right? Cha. So that this line, so for this sthanam for the second line in the consonants is talu, and the instrument is jihatalam. The first line was sthanam was kantha, instrument was jihvamulam, or very back, the deep back of the internal part here. Ka, kha. Okay? Though we may not really understand that it's touching, but there is a touch there if you deeply observe it. But the second line becomes much clearer here. Right? Cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Here the touch is happening of the surface, top surface of the jihva or the tongue to the top. So the sthanam for the second line is talu, and the instrument is jihvatalam. The next line, ta, tha, da, dhana. So this one, the ta, tha, da, dhana, this one, where is it touching? These are the some special we can call. These I don't think they exist in English language at least. So this is difficult in English language. You know. So native English speakers may find this difficult to pronounce these. So ta, tha, da, dhana. So these one, the sthanam is the crown or the roof here. In the Sanskrit we are calling it murdha, and the instrument, how the part which has to touch there is Juphagram Pariveshtitam, the tongue which is rolled back like this. So the tongue which is rolled back and tip of the tongue hitting that hard part of the mouth, upper surface in the mouth. So this is the ta, tha, da, dha, na. Then the next line is ta, tha, da, dha, na. So that is, the instrument is Juphagram and the position is danta. Danta means teeth, but not all the teeth. Just the back side of the front teeth, the upper front teeth, back side. Ta, tha, da, dha, na. So there the Juphagram or the tip of the tongue is touching or hitting that part in the mouth. So that this is the sthanam for the ta, tha, da, dha, na. Now for pa, pha, ba, bha, ma, the instrument is again lower lip, we saw that, and the position is upper lip, because it is not touching now. Whereas when we say oo, oo, there is no touch. For pa, pha, ba, bha, ma, they have to touch pa. And after saying pa, after the lips touch and open, the air is released outside. Pa, pha, ba, bha, ma. So those are the sthanam and the instruments for each of those lines there in the consonant section. So that's how you see they are logically arranged, right? Starting from based on the instrument and the position, starting from the back side, gradually moving towards the front side of the oral cavity there. So that is how they are logically arranged. So there is some logic to it. It's not random like A, B, C, D. So ka, kha, ga, ga, nga, cha, cha, ja, ja, ya, ta, ta, da, da, na, ta, 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 da, da, na, pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. So now yara, lava, what happens here? They yara, lava, sha, 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 sa, ha. They have the position and the instrument, but they are kept separately. They are not put it in this 5 by 5 table. So these are 5 columns and 5 rows. So these are called have in Sanskritam they are called Vargiya Vyanjana. Varga means category or the class. So they have this 5 by 5 table. They fit in this 5 by 5 table. But these last 8, yara, lava, sha, sha, sa, ha. Pune pronounced this very well. This sha, sha. So this distinction has to be there. Sha, sha. So they are kept as just a single line because they don't fit here because they have different degree of touch and different way of variation. There is this ya. When we say ya, especially, what happens? We feel that there is no touch, right? Ya. When you say ya, there is no touch, but actually there is a slight touch, degree of touch compared. And what is the sthanam here? What is happening? If you observe again, ya, ya. Again, it is like we are like a smiley. Ya. We are saying ya. So here the position is talu again, talu, and again this Jupha is the instrument like E. It is like E, but E is a swara. There is no touch at all. But here there is a slight touch of the sides of the tongue to the lower surface of the mouth inside. Yeah. Slight touch there. Anyway, that is a technical detail of that ya. Similar. So the sthanam for ya is this talu. We have to focus on more important is talu here. Tal or the sthanam. Similarly, ra, ya, ra. Next is ra. Ra, the sthanam is murdha. Murdha is here. For murdha, the instrument is same. These pair is same. If the kantha is the sthana, instrument is Jupha Moolam or the root of the tongue. And if the position is talu, instrument is surface of the tongue, Jupatalam. If the position is crown or murdha, instrument is rolled backwards, tip of the tongue. Danta, teeth, sthanam, the instrument will be tip of the tongue. And for oshta, lips two lips are needed. So these are the pairs. So if you take ya, when we say its sthana is talu, instrument is going to be this, juhatalam. Similarly, ra, when you say its sthanam is murdha, this will be the instrument, juhagram pariveshtitam, rolled back. So this, if you know, then it will be clear for us how to pronounce it. If you are pronouncing, if somebody is pronouncing it incorrectly or have some doubts, they should clarify that doubt. So what is the sthana and what is the instrument? Ra. So there is a to roll back the tongue and hit that crown or murdha. Then similar, next is yara la. Here the sthana is danta. That means the instrument is juhagra, tip of the tongue. So how we pronounce ta, tha, dhana, to same position. It has the same position, same instrument. The la is also pronounced in the same position instrument there, like the la. Then here la. Then we have wa. Wa has a oshtha, like u. Wa has a oshtha. Now, can argue what is touching here. You know, when we say wa, appears that nothing is touching, right? Like it is a u, like u. What is wa? Wa, where is it touching? Pa we understand. Pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. We understand that there are two lips touch here. But wa, why is it a consonant? Why is it not swara? It appears like a not touch. Because similar to ya has a slight touch there. Ya also one can think that it is not a vyanjanam. But in Sanskritam, that these have been very well analyzed, very well studied, that what touch is there, which part is touching, how much degree, what is the degree of touch and all that. So they are very particular about this, which is consonant and which is swara. So whereas e is a swara, ya is not a swara, because they notice that they have noticed. Whereas who has made up this? Nobody has made up this, because this is like a tradition for long, many years, and they are well studied and then established. So ya side juha, the top surface side touches, so that is why it is put under this consonant. Similarly, wa, what has happened? The lips are there, lips are involved, but compared to u, the lower lips, the sides are closely touching this upper lip. When we say wa. So the shape is a little bit different. Whereas when you say o, u is more circular compared to wa. When we say wa, the sides of the lips, they are touching. Wa. That may be something like W, I think, in English. Then wa is there, then yara, lava, sha. Sha, its sthanam is talu, like e, ya, that sthanam is also talu. And sha also gets the same sthanam. That means same instrument here. In Sanskritam, instrument is called karanam instrument. So sha, that has the same position, same instrument, but the way it is pronounced is differently, because when we say sha, what is happening? There's a more friction is there when we say sha. So it is like pronouncing cha, cha, ja, cha. Remember the cha, second line in the consonants, cha, ja, ja, they also have the same position, talu, cha. But in the cha, what is happening? There's a proper touch here, cha, ja, nya. There's a proper touch. But when we say sha, which are the same position, but there is no, the touch, the way it touches different here. There is when we touch sha here, there is more friction for the air. Air comes with a friction, and these are called sibilants. Which are called sibilants? Sha, sha, sa, ha. Those four are called sibilants. Why are they called sibilants? Because if you put a mirror in front of mouth, when you are pronouncing sha, sha, sa, ha, we can see some air or the water depositing there. So they need friction there. Air is coming through a friction here. For three letters, not all, but for the sibilants, I'm saying sibilants are ones which produce the condensation on the mirror. Now, sha has the same position, and whatever sha has the murdha position with this instrument. Sha. So again, rolled back tongue and hitting this portion, just like ta, tha, da, dha, na. Sha is hitting there. Sha. But again, there is a slight gap where the air comes out with the friction, whereas the ta, there is a hard touch there. Whereas sha, there is a touch, but not to the same degree as the ta. There is a gap for the air to come out with the friction there. Then sha, sha, sa. Next one, sa is the position is danta, where it touches here, back of the teeth, like ta, 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 tha, da, dha. Same thing like la also. La also has the same position, right? And danta. So this tip of the tongue, no roll back, just straight touch back of the front top teeth or tooth. And then sa, ra, sha, sa. What is the remaining now? Ha. Now ha is slightly different, right? Ha. Now how we say ha? What are we doing here? Ha. What is touching what here? It looks like it is like saying right? And ha. What is the difference? Is also air passes out easily, relaxed, no touch anywhere. Whereas ha also air passes out with a relaxed state. But compared to there is a difference, right? When you say ha. So here also this position is kantha only. But there is air is involved here. More air is involved when you pronounce ha. Whereas here that kind of air is not there. So there is a difference. So that is why the is considered a swara, whereas ha is not a swara, because there it is supposed to be a close. There is a friction here. There is a condensation. There is a compression here. When we say ha, more compression compared to ha. So though for and ha, position and the instrument is same, but is considered a swara, ha is considered a vyanjanam. Now the last three, over times, but can I take 5 more minutes?
Yeah, fine with me.
Yeah, we will just finish this otherwise.
Fine, sir.
Okay, thank you. So so these one where to pronounce this, there many confusion is there. Like many people know what you have pronounced, you did a great job, all of you. But if you have any doubts, anybody has any doubt, we should be very clear, because if you listen to many other slokas, people chanting slokas with and words pronouncing so there is a lot of confusion. So we have to put that to an end with this clear understanding of So what do they? They are swara, means one thing is clear, there is no touch. There is no touch. That is why they are swara, right? Now, what is the sthanam? We have to understand. Once you understand sthanam, its pair. What is the pair for its instrument? That also is clear. So for ru, the sthanam is murdha. And in the vyanjanam, what is the murdha sthanam? Which vyanjanam is murdha?
Third.
This one, right? tha, da, dha, na. This is murdha. That means r shares the same position. Position to touch is the same. Position not to touch, the position for the pronunciation is the same. That means the instrument is rolled back tongue. For this ta, tha, da, dha, na, rolled back tongue. The back portion of the tip of the tongue, when we say ta. So here there is a touch, but for the r there is no touch. No that. So, but here this is not again a pure swara, just like a, e. These are very. There is no touch. There is no. They are pure. Pure in the sense. What is impure here? There is an element of ra is involved here. There is an element of small element of this ra, which is a pure, again is a pure Vyanjana because it is a touch. Again, this ra also the sthanam is same, right? It is sthanam is same urdha, just like saying ta, but only that how much it touches is different here. Similarly, this here the sthanam is same, the position is same, and the instrument is same. But this involves a slight element of this ra. So this is not a very pure swara, but it is considered a swara because that is how in Sanskritam it has been defined that do not make the touch there. When we are saying this, at the murdha, don't touch, but add an element of ra there. That is how we should pronounce that. For example, if we take the word Rishi, I think since you already know, all of you know this, know the many of the words, which is great. We can move forward fast. So if you know here Rishi, this Rishi is the how we have to pronounce this R here. So because if we write that in English using Roman script, we might write it like this, right? R-I-S-H or R-U-S-H. So there is no equivalent writing in English there. So that is why this many names, the Indian names, when they are named Rishi, but because they write it like this, they are all they are pronounced like this only. Rishi with this R, Ra, Rishi or Rushi. But it is not this Rishi or Rushi. This Ru is different. This Ru has to be pronounced like a Ru. Okay? There is no touch, but there is an element of Ru, and the air is trying to come out. Air has to pass to come out, trying to say Ru, but not the actual Ra. It is not Ra. Okay? So Ru, Rishi. So the same Ru appears in the Krishna also. Like when you say Krishna. This also is a Ru. This is a Ru. So Krishna is not Krishna. Kri is not there. It is not Kri or Kru. Krishna. So it is just a very slight differentiation is there. Yeah. So anyway, you can practice that if you're not familiar, or I have a separate video also on this. Now then, this one is just a long form, the longer version of just like and then there is this one is not controversial, but people have made it controversial. It is very clear. Again, it is a swara, and what is the sthanam? Sthanam is danta. What is the sthanam? Danta, like this ta, tha, da, da, na, and this la is also having the danta, right, in the Vyanjana side. So this la gets the sthanam of this swara, which is represented like this in this format in Devanagari, gets the sthanam of danta, and that means what is its instrument? What part of tongue should touch where when it is danta?
The forward part of the tongue.
Yeah, the tip of the tongue, it hits the back of the top teeth, right? Like a la, tatadana. So this has the same position in the instrument here. So when that is given, we should know how to pronounce it. It is similar in the sense, the same concept here. Like ru is not pure in the sense like but still it is a consonant, still it is swara. Similarly, is not a consonant, it is a swara. But there is a slight, small element of la. This ru contains an element of ra. Similarly, this one contains an element of la. When we say la, we are actually fully touching the back of the teeth, but here there is no touch, but we are trying to say la, but the air comes out there. Whereas when we say la, the air completely stops there, that because the the tongue is touching there. But here tongue won't touch, but we are trying to say la, so we say So very slight variation, or you can hear that. So it sounds like la, but it's not la. What many places you hear, confusion is that because it is written like this, because the Devanagari script, which looks like a combination of la and ru, like ru, like when we say kru, we write it like this, right? So I think all of you are familiar with the Devanagari script here. So kru, we write it like this. So this means this has a Vyanjanam ka and then ru. This ru is added to this. So similarly, when this is written like this vowel is written like this, many people think and pronounce that it is first it is la and then it is ru. So they pronounce it like ru or ri. So which both are incorrect. So there is no ra involved in this pronouncing this. It is just the element of la. Just like how we say ra with an element of just the ra. Similarly, la, this is just an element of la. No combination of la and ru. It is not r, it is not ri, nothing like that. Only because Devanagari has a limitation. Somebody, with the Devanagari they could have, whoever has composed this Devanagari Lipi, ideally we should have a different symbol here. But unfortunately, this symbol is stuck for this swara because of the confusion arises, and then many places we have this ri, which should be just r. And actually there is only one word in Sanskritam which uses this swara. Just because of the one word, this is still used in this chart of letters. Otherwise, there are not many words in the Sanskritam. Actually, there is only one word. With this, we'll see that word later. Okay? So, we'll stop here today. We'll look at the Anuswara Visarga in the next class. But otherwise, there are 13 swaras and how many Vyanjanas?
33. 33, is it?
Yeah, 33. 33 Vyanjanas. Okay? So, Anuswara Visarga, they are not counted as a swara. We'll see that next class. Any question here so far? Otherwise, we'll stop here. Thank you, everyone.